this conference be more than just an event. Let it be a catalyst for your next big leap. Engage actively, ask questions, share your experiences, and most importantly, support one another.
So it takes one person with one voice to say, let's take a gamble on her. How are you using your voice to be a waymaker for someone else?
Consistent, competent people of character will build or break your business.
Ladies and the few lucky gentlemen in the room, good morning and welcome to the Absa Inspire Me Conference 2024.
Let this conference be more than just an event. Let it be a catalyst for your next big leap. Engage actively, ask questions, share your experiences, and most importantly, support one another.
So it takes one person with one voice to say, let's take a gamble on her. How are you using your voice?
Ladies, gentlemen, please make your way into the room. I'd like to start our afternoon session. And I do want to get straight to the conversation that I asked you about before we went.
Our stories begin right here, and we never write them alone. Sometimes we write them with someone who puts our story first. Other times with someone who puts their own story first. There'll be pages we love to read again and again, and some we'll barely remember. Sometimes we feel like the hero of our story, and other times, not. There are stories of dreamers, stories of creators, stories of strivers, stories of believers, and we're inspired by them all. That's why we invite you to write your story with us. Your story matters.
County, the Cradle Tented Camp and Lodge, one in Lodwar and another one in Kakuma. And the same question to Carol and to Caroline and everybody else. When are you coming to Turkana? I have traveled 700 kilometers to be here. That's how far Turkana is. And my friend Elizabeth, I'm very proud of you. This is my first time here. I'm so proud of what you have done. Beautiful women. I've gotten so many contacts, even from Ghana and everywhere. I'm going to Mauritius. I met some beautiful ladies from Mauritius. Please, tembeeni Kenya. Kenya is so big. It's not, tourism is not just the beach and bush. Yeah? So the next time, please, December, Turkana County, the Cradle Tented Camp and Lodges. Karibuni sana. I didn't hear that, so tourism in Turkana, karibuni.
Thank you ever so much. I'm going to move to get ready for our next session, which is our first session this afternoon. I would like to say once again, good afternoon and welcome. If you're just joining us for the first time this afternoon, welcome once again to the Absa Inspire Me Conference 2024. Wellness is the next thing we're going to talk about. The panel that will be introduced by Mercy Ochola is dynamic, powerful, and very, very excited to have this conversation with you. It is important that I also mention that this particular session and this particular panel discussion is sponsored very, very proudly by APA. APA would like me to let you know that they have a very unique product that's just for women in cancer. Okay? So you must look for APA because they do have a stand right out here. I know exactly where they are. However, for all your other insurance needs from Absa, the head of bank assurance is here. Julia, where's Julia? There's Julia. Please stand up so everybody can know you. Yeah, very important. However, what I want to do now is introduce you to a friend, a coach. 3 continents, 5 countries, 20 years of successfully helping high-level executive teams from different cultures, not just countries, come together to navigate challenging environments. That is the experience Mercy not only brings to this platform today, but to this conversation and to you. When Mercy is working with any team, she knows that the most important element is the people, and that's why she's a certified behavioral consultant. Mercy is able to use proven tools for teams to come together to communicate effectively, minimize conflict, and improve their relationships in every single way. What I want you to do now is allow me to hand over this stage and this microphone to Mercy Ochola. Welcome, Mercy.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Can we give her a round of applause even as she walks back to her seat? Okay, I'm trying to balance this out. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Use the podium so you don't have to hold it in your hand.
Okay, great.
Turn that on.
Thank you.
Can I have this back on?
Is it on? Yeah, you can hear me. Good afternoon. Oh, come on, guys. You just come from an awesome lunch. You need to say a better good afternoon than that. Can I hear you again? Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Absa, for having me here. Once again, I say once again because this is my 3rd Absa Inspire Me conference. How many of you were there at the first one? Show of hands. The very first one? I see a few hands. How many were in Ghana? We were in Ghana last year, and the Ghanaians in the room, I see you. And then those of you who are attending for the first time, I am sure you're coming back next year, aren't you? Great. So you've had my introduction, and I will not go deeper into that, but I want to stand on this stage and just tell you something. Ladies, before I get to my panel and the intro that I need to do of the conversation, I was in corporate for 20 plus years. Yes, last 11 years I have been an entrepreneur. And what Caroline just introduced me as doing now, as a Maxwell Certified Executive Program Leader, I host a program called Live to Lead, which Barclays then, before they became Absa, believed in me, began to support me. It's a leadership program. And 6 years later, we're still working together. And the very first 2 events I hosted, Caroline was my moderator. And you heard earlier on what was discussed. You know that? It's actually called an imposter syndrome. What the CS was talking about, it's an imposter syndrome where you think you're not good enough, you're not capable enough. And so I got the services of Caroline to moderate my first 2 events because I didn't think I was worthy and capable. But thanks to her friendship and her doing that for me, I invested in myself. And today, not only do I stand behind a podium like this, but I get to moderate sessions. And that is called growth, ladies. Why am I telling you this? Because we are talking about empowering, what's the theme? Empowering your story for growth. So if it wasn't for friends like Caroline and Absa believing in me, I do not think I'd be here today. So our topic today is on wellness. And wellness, let me read the exact thing about it. It's saying wellness celebrating resilience. And we've been hearing about resilience since yesterday. And before I call up my panel, allow me to share my personal story that is going to show you why this story of resilience is something we need to think about. Whether you work in a corporate office, whether you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. 17 years ago, this June, I was bedridden. I had been in a coma for 5 days, and this had started off as an illness that I had been battling for 3 months, in and out of doctors' offices, being diagnosed, not really finding the cause, doing all kinds of tests, and I ended up in a coma. After this, I was diagnosed with a condition known as connective tissue disorder. And later on, as I inquired to find out what was the cause, I learned things that I'd never heard of before. Prior to this, I was a health enthusiast. I was very, very keen on my fitness because my parents either have diabetes or high blood pressure, and I wanted to make sure that I do not get to suffer any of this genetic or inherited diseases. And so when I succumbed to this condition, I was very annoyed. And I went to my doctor trying to ask them, why would I be able to go through what I went through, yet I was really looking at what I was eating, how my fitness was, my exercise regime, and I needed to hear from them. I was like, what's the point? Why should I bother? And what I learned is that the condition I went through was due to stress-related conditions. And when I reflected back, I was still in corporate then. The environment that I was in was actually very toxic at the time. And so what are the lessons that I learned from this condition? One of the things I knew is to avoid toxic environments. And yesterday we were told this includes saying no to a customer. If you find that that relationship is toxic, say no to it. The other thing I learned is that although I was upset about my exercise regime seemingly being futile, actually it helped in the diagnosis and the recovery process that I had to go through. How so? By the time I went into a coma, I had 3 seizures within 24 hours. And about a month later, during my recovery, I walked to the ICU. I happened to be taking somebody to the hospital, and I said, let me walk to the ICU and say thank you to the nurses. But as they looked at me, they looked at me, body language. I'm a communicator, so we learn a lot from body language. And they looked at me as if I was a walking ghost. And I went to my doctor and I said, why did they give me that look? And my doctor told me, Mercy, the condition that you went through, two things happen. You either become a cabbage or you don't make it. So when they see you walking, it's something unusual. And I asked, so why was I different? And the doctor said, Mercy, your health, fitness kept you going because your mind was still alert. That is why your recovery was much faster than was anticipated. So these are things I have written in my book. You had me talk about 3. I've actually called it 3's Divine. And if you go outside, as you turn to your left, the second booth that is there, you will find somebody and you can get yourself a copy of the book and you can get to know what happened after that. But at this point in time, I want to share with you a few statistics about well-being and resilience that's going to help me bring my panel onto stage. And I'm going to quote from the Gallup State of the Global Workplace 2023-2024 report. And please listen and pay attention to this. This report, and some of you are familiar with Gallup, they're very good in their surveys. They've said, people's mental well-being is worsening in the last 10 years, and it's being depicted through stress, anxiety, sadness, who are working in environments that have good management. So if you're in a bad management environment, you have a 60% chance of getting stressed than someone who's in a good management environment. And in fact, you're 30% more likely to get stressed than someone who is unemployed. So, leaders in the workplace have a role to play in managing and making sure that the people they lead suffer less burnout and are able to address this using effective ways. And so with that, Marlene, in your minds right now, allow me to introduce my panelists in no particular order, and please, as I call you, just come up. I want to introduce you first to Victoria Rica. She's the head of corporate and mental health and wellness program at Chiromo Hospital Group. She's a counseling psychologist with over 6 years experience in mental health and wellness, and she holds a master's degree in counseling and psychology from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. Let's put our hands together for Victoria. Next, I'm going to introduce to us Mumbi Kahindo. You had her being looked for a lot this morning. You'll get to hear from her. And Mumbi is the Chief People Officer at Absa Bank, and she has been with the bank since 2013, serving in various roles up to what she is right now. But prior to that, she was with Deloitte in the US, and has also served in other institutions or operations when she was in the US. And she's also a certified coach with ICF and also human resources from Keller Graduate School of Management in Manhattan, New York. And she's also a master facilitator, people analytics, DDI, target selection, and success profiles, and much, much more that I will not read for today. Thank you, Mumbi, for being with us today. And next, I'm going to call up Reverend Kathy Kuna. She's the founder of Daughters of Zion at the Jubilee Christian Church. She's a speaker, author, music minister, worship leader, marriage counselor, dynamic teacher, and she's the visionary behind Daughters of Zion. She has a ladies' mentorship school, and I just learned that she's also got something to do with catering. Let's put our hands together for Reverend Kathy Kuna. And last but not least, I do have a gentleman. I wouldn't call him the thorn in the rose, but he's the flower in the rose. And his name is Ken Kanyarati. He's the Director, Legal and Compliance at Absa Bank. And he's a he for she, and he's also quite a health and fitness enthusiast. Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together once again, even as we get
Thank
to
you.
hear from
Mercy,
them.
take your seat. I'd like the podium to go so we can see the panel. Panelists, one of you has a flight to catch. And I don't think anybody will wait for you on the tarmac. So, Mercy, I'm going to ask that once that timer starts, we obey that time, which means I expect 20 minutes to give us 10 minutes for questions and answers. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for that. Yes, we do have somebody who has a flight to catch. But you know what? You guys have really made it so easy for us. We have been on that app, which I can't really pronounce its name. But as I went through the app, I actually noticed one thing, that some of you had already gone there and put in your questions. And so that is what we're going to be responding to because we want to serve you here today. And yes, there are online questions. We will also welcome you to join us with your questions. But I want to start on my extreme left with Victoria telling us, you had the stats. From where you're sitting in your office, from a Kenyan point of view, is it really true that stress and stress-related issues are up on the rise? And why would you say is the case in our Kenyan or African context? Over to you, Victoria. Just stand on the mic.
Thank you. Right, yeah, so from where I sit, I would say that stress is really, really on the rise. And really, first of all, maybe for us to define what stress is. And we say that stress is your body's physical reaction to demand or threat. And in reality, stress is not always bad. So we know there's what is good stress, and we know there's what is bad stress, which is distress, which in reality is what we refer to when we are talking about being very stressed. Now, there's so much happening around us. The environment, it could be at the workplace, it could be from home, because if you're experiencing stress from the workplace, believe you me, you'll carry it over to your home. And if you're experiencing stress from the home front, then you'll carry it over to the workplace. So they are interconnected. And sometimes the stress is also internal. It's from you yourself. We call it an internal stressor, maybe because of how you view life, your perspective towards life. Maybe you're the kind of person who has a low self-esteem. It could stem back from your childhood, what we call things that you've not dealt with, adverse childhood experiences. Maybe you grew up in an environment where you're told you'll never make much of yourself, and therefore, you carry that with you up until adulthood, and that becomes an internal stressor. The stresses that we are facing, finances, there's so much to do with financial stressors. Money is never enough at whatever point in time. And the issue of also parenting and trying to not do what we call work-life balance, but what we call work-life integration. Trying to put so much of your 24 hours and trying to meet your demands as a parent, as a business person, as a mother, as a father. So we are trying to integrate so many other aspects of our life into the 24 hours. And that, if you do not have self-management, if you do not have time management, is bound to bring up a lot of stress. Marcia has already mentioned, and it is true, that when you're very stressed, it will also manifest itself physically. So you may find yourself having even skin breakouts, you have rashes on your body, and you go to the best dermatologist, they give you the best creams, but you don't get cured. Why? Because the stress is not organic. It's actually coming from something psychological. You may also find yourself having non-stop headaches. All the time you're having migraines. And you have a lot of them day in, day out. And you try using Panadols, you start actually doing what we call abusing over-the-counter drugs, but you're not getting any relief. Why? Because it is related to what is going on with your psychological beat. Stress will also manifest itself in your eating habits, in your sleep patterns. Sometimes you'll add weight, and people will tell you you must be doing very well with this economy. You've actually added weight. And in reality, you're actually stressed. Because when you're stressed, what do? You do what we call comfort eating. You're eating cakes, pizzas, biscuits, and snacking on very fast foods. So you add a lot of weight. And then it could also be the reverse, that you actually lose a lot of weight because you're not able to eat. Your sleep patterns also change. You may find yourself sleeping too much or too little. So we have a lot of stress, and it's emanating from the home front and from the work front, and also from your own self, what we call internal stressors.
Thank you, Victoria. I want to come to you, Mombi. And Mombi, one of the things that we've had a lot in the last 2 days is about building competencies for ourselves, whether we're entrepreneurs or whatever it is that we are doing. But then a question that has been posed is, how does one ensure wellness for themselves first, and then for the employees that they're engaging, so that they can be able to improve and increase on productivity? How do we manage all this, Mombi?
Thank you, Mercy, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think there is something I call the first point is your own self-commitment and self-awareness. That's where it starts. If you're not conscious, and it doesn't come naturally sometimes based on where or what we've been used to, it's rewiring your mind to remind yourself that you are the most important element in what you're doing as an employee or as an entrepreneur. It's important for you to remind yourself that and make a commitment. When we look at wellness, and I think when we train our employees, when we train our people managers, the first place we start is with the individual. Because if you're a people manager and you're not yourself conscious around your own wellness, you will not think about the wellness of your people. It doesn't come as obvious because you don't think about it from your own perspective. So start with yourself. I think today, in this world today, there are very many apps that can help you do that. Some of them are actually free. So you can help yourself by just downloading an app that helps you remember you have been sitting for too long. I would believe when I look in this room, most of us here would have a smartwatch or would have a smartphone. And that phone, other than reading messages and getting emails, should help you in your wellness journey. It should actually give you an alarm when you've sat for too long. It should give you a report that tells you how many steps have you made today. That's your own individual commitment in terms of your own journey on wellness. And wellness, when I listen to the clinical psychologists talk about the stress, as an employer, obviously we are chasing people to meet targets. I see my colleagues sitting here, they are following up on their teams. Did they meet their targets today? So when Elizabeth is sitting here today, Mombi is looking at her performance scorecard to say, was the number? That's a source of stress, yeah? And you have to help your employees remember at the end of it all. So we found there are some fun ways that you can actually help your employees get involved. So I can give an example, and the ladies and the gentlemen from our organization sitting here, we've been running a campaign for what we call a Let's Move campaign. And it's not paid. We are not paying anyone. All we are doing is we've put ourselves, you remember how we were in high school? You had a house. So we have put employees in houses. So Elizabeth is leading the Mamba, yeah? So as the chief, she's called the chief of the Mamba, she rallies her troops around walking every day. And you can see the competition. No one is paying anyone, nobody is pushing anyone, but we are asking you to record some points for your team, for your house. What that does, it's number one, it creates fun. So I think my point is find creative ways to involve everyone. It doesn't need to involve money. Wellness does not need to involve money. It actually just means what are some of the ways in which we can creatively engage our employees, and we lead from the front. So if you call people to make steps, Elizabeth has got to end here, open the app, and make 6,000 steps as her target, or 3,000 steps. I have been, myself, in the middle of the night at 9 p.m. because I was working, but I have to record. So it's because I'm supporting my team and I'm moving towards ensuring that my team scores daily points, I'm driven. So there are many ways in which we can get creative. Put people together just to have coffee conversations. Have some sections within the office. So there are some sections within the office where you can have sitting places where people can just get out of their desks, sit together for a cup of coffee, or share a meeting outside the regular meeting rooms. So it's difficult, I have to say, because of the demands of the role, but it needs much more consciousness, and some of the apps and the digital environment that we are in can actually help us. Yeah.
Thank you, Mumbi. And I hope you're taking notes, guys. You've been seeing Caroline trying to cover how many steps she's doing here. It's a self-commitment thing. Even though she's here talking to us, you have to do it. So you want to do that for yourself. Now, let me come to you, Reverend Kathy Kuna, in the context of our faith and spirituality. Victoria there did tell us that these things begin inside before they even manifest outside. And I'm a believer that we are created, physical body, the mind, and then we have a spiritual being. And if any one of this is not functioning, then we are sick. We're not whole. We are sick. And I've seen a lot of people here recognize you. I believe they may be part of your congregation, I don't know. But you are also doing some mentoring and supporting them. So how does faith and spirituality, and here we're talking about faith and spirituality, not necessarily religion, because we are all spiritual beings. How does this connect to our mental well-being, Reverend Kathy?
Thank you so much, Mercy. That's an amazing question. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really want to say that spirituality is so key to wellness in life. And I'll start with resilience. Like if you're going through a situation, you've got to be resilient. That means that you have to recondition yourself. You have to learn to rebuild yourself. Personally, I am right now going through this reconditioning and rebuilding because I'm going through a very, very rough patch in my life with a loved one that's going through health challenges. And so when I talk about resilience, it is something that I need to do and remind myself on a daily basis that I have to get strong and I have to speak to myself so that I can rebuild, re-energize, and understand that this too shall pass. The second thing is faith. In whatever it is that we go through, we have to have faith. Because see, faith is a substance of things hoped for and an evidence of things not seen. So when you have faith, it helps you to see beyond what you're going through. And you have to lift up your eyes for wellness. You have to lift up your eyes beyond the now and see what is it that I'm learning from this. Because everything we go through in life is a lesson. And so, what is it that I'm learning from this, and what am I coming out with, out of this with? And so, it is very, very important for faith to be built up and build up your capacity of believing even those things that look unreal. And that is what now spirituality does, because you're a spiritual being, so you can pray, you can trust in God, you can hope in the Lord, you can look up beyond the surface and see things that are beyond what you can see with the physical eye. And so when you're a spiritual being, you see much deeper than just the norm, the now. And so it is very, very important to build faith in that capacity. The third thing I would say is that it is also important for us to know that what we think, the word of God tells us that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You can never go beyond what you think. And so you have to change your mentality and your way of thinking if you want to stay well and able to face life as it comes. I've come to realize that life has a way of happening. Like life can usher you into things you never thought possible. To be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I never saw myself here at any one given time. I never imagined that I would be here right now fighting, to see my loved one recover and fighting some things that are very, very challenging. I never saw it. But life has a way of handing you some stuff. And you have to be ready and resilient enough to know it'll come and it'll go. But when it goes, let it leave you standing and not completely given up in life. And so spirituality is very, very key in this area, that you have to keep reminding yourself that there is a higher being than you. There is a higher height, and you can lift your eyes up higher and see far beyond the now. And so for well-being, that is very, very critical.
Yeah. Earlier on, Waziri told us that the world breaks everyone, and afterwards, some are strong at the broken places. And I believe those that get stronger at the broken places are the ones that tap into their faith and spirituality to be able to navigate the rough patch. And that's why women have the saying, what doesn't kill you?
It makes you stronger.
Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Good. So let me come to the he for she. Yeah? And one of the questions we have been asked, and it's known, we say women are resilient, isn't it? But the question is, are men, what is the resilience of men? Are we more resilient? From where you sit, what do you think? Who is more resilient? And okay, the focus is not on who, but what do men do when they find themselves in these stressful places? Because as we've had, every one of us will get broken. So what do men do? Can we learn something from you?
So thank you very much. The initial part of that question sounded like a trick question. Sounded like an email I received, a message I received. Do you remember that tomorrow there's a parents-teachers day in school? And obviously you have to be very careful about how you respond to that. But that said, safe space. From a resilience perspective, I think it's more about personal attributes. It's not necessarily about the gender. It's about what card life plays you, what circumstances you find yourself in, what it is that you're having to contend with. And I'll look at it perhaps from a work perspective. And even we dovetailed to what wellness is all about. So there are certain critical things. If I'm looking at wellness, I need to determine what I want to achieve. What's the purpose of it? What goals do I have? How do I go about achieving it? How do I measure it? Do I get to achieve it or not? And if I do not, what do I do about it? And then more importantly, how do I realize that this failed and how do I remediate that situation? Now, different people will react to different things differently. So there are those who will know that, number one, I'm not going to fail. I should not fail, and they'll place a lot of pressure on themselves. And that's a personal attribute that certain people do have. And when they fail, it perhaps causes them to have a low moment in their life. But there are those, and which I believe is what my mantra is that failure is part of life. With all good intentions about what it is that I would wish to achieve, I know that there will be instances where I fail. And for me, that failure is a lesson around how I can do better, do different, learn from it, and move on. So resilience and my ability to shake off what has caused me to fail, one, as quickly as I can, two, understanding and appreciating what those lessons are, and then moving on from that, that is what is more critical for me. So I'll give a good example. So your target, and this was me, so I wanted to make it sound anonymous, but let me just get to it. Somewhere along my need to keep fit, I walked into a shop and I loved a particular shirt. At that point, there's absolutely no way it was going to button up. But I figured that in 6 months, I need to fit into that shirt. So 4 or 5 months down the road, and it was proving a little difficult, you start to find ways of how to achieve that. That may come in the, do I change my working out? Do I change my diet? Eventually, at the end of the 6 months, one button was in and we were good to go. The rest was addressed somewhere down the road. But let's transpose that to general life. From a man's perspective, if I find myself in a difficult situation, who can I reach out to? Can I phone a friend? Do I need to go out there and run? Do I need to just get out of the office and go for a cup of coffee? Do I need to look for people who are going out for a bicycle ride and join them? And perhaps I'll be able to communicate it. But guess what? I think for ladies, you have better ways of addressing this. How is that? Because you rally together. There is no problem that a group of ladies sets their eyes or minds to address that doesn't get addressed. We saw that yesterday with the maandamano, eh? Who are the majority? The ladies. So whereas it's a personal attribute, there are various opportunities that we would often, as men, try to move towards, but as ladies also, there's what that works for you, and we look to lean towards. So those would be my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. So ladies, aren't you encouraged that we're not the only ones who go and try and fit in clothes? And we know it's coming. Eh? Even the men do it, isn't it? Awesome. So let's come to a very interesting part of this conversation. Victoria, I want to come back to you. And I know from a health dimension, we do have incidences. We have young entrepreneurs in the room, people working in corporate, and they're trying to start families. Or, if you're my age, you have internal weathers. I have a friend who calls it my internal climate has kicked in. All because of stress-related issues. And by the way, because of the story I shared with you, I went into menopause at the age of 37. So, you can imagine, he's saying we talked to our friends. I couldn't share that then because my friends were not going through that. So how do we as women entrepreneurs navigate in this space, whether you're a young entrepreneur, in between, how does stress affect us in those areas of our reproductive health and also our mental health? Victoria.
Thank you, Mercy, for that question, which is very common amongst women, by virtue of being a woman. I think when you talk about womanhood, for you to qualify as being called a woman by society, then you must give birth, unfortunately, right? But there are those moments where we encounter difficulties. Sometimes you have primary infertility, where you're not able to conceive at all, and sometimes you have what we call secondary infertility, meaning that maybe you conceive, but you're not able to conceive again. And then again, by virtue of being a woman, your mental health is already compromised because of the hormonal imbalances happening within your system. Towards the beginning of your cycle, you may find yourself so irritable. Even people in the office are able to say it's probably that time of the month. Well, sometimes it's used as an insult, but sometimes it is actually the truth. At a certain point of the month, even before your menses, you become very irritable, and you are not very friendly. You're not very nice to be around. Now, that can really bring in a lot of stressors, especially the bit of being unable to conceive, or when we talk about infertility. Now, before I decide to do therapy with a lady who is experiencing issues to do with things like conception, we first of all determine, is this really infertility caused by stress, or is there something medical? So can we first of all involve either a gynecologist, or if it goes beyond that, can we involve a fertility specialist? And then we usually will advise the women. The procedures done on women are very, very invasive. For example, they'll want to look at your tubes, and they'll put some dye through your tubes to ensure that your tubes are actually clear. Or they will poke and prod around you. So we usually advise them, when you have a partner, let your partner first of all be checked out. Because it could actually be the man who has a problem. It could be that he's, sorry to use that word, maybe he could be shooting blanks. He could also be having sperms which are not swimming, which are in one way or the other having a problem, motility. You know, how fast are they moving, right? So it's important that if you're experiencing that, then first of all have your partner checked before you give yourself over for those invasive procedures. But that brings around a lot of stressors because one, you are not even able to look at a pregnant woman, especially if you're not able to conceive. You see pregnant women and they bring back those very negative feelings that you're experiencing. You can't go for baby showers. You're not able to go and celebrate your friends' milestones if they're having children, even your own relatives. For example, if you're told, let us go and, in Kikuyu we say, Oshogia, we go and hold a new baby, you're not able to do that. Why? Because of your own struggles. So if you're experiencing infertility, we say there's what is called chronic stress. Stress that you're dealing with on a daily basis. You wake up to your condition, I am not able to conceive, I'm going through this infertility, so you live with it. And if you do not handle it well, that is what will push you to a place where you start experiencing mental health challenges. Now, stress in itself will not cause you to have a mental illness. It is your lack of coping mechanisms that will bring in a mental illness, especially if you're predisposed by, say, genetics or by the environment towards a mental illness. So what do? You go back to self-care, your social capital, taking care of yourself. And it's called self-care because it is your own initiative. When you go through the process, the motions, you'll probably go through what we call loss and grief if you're not able finally to get what it is that you want in terms of conceiving. Or if you're going through menopause, you'll be having emotions up and down, right? So if, for example, experiencing infertility, you may go through what we say is the cycle of loss and grief. You may first of all be in denial, and you're looking back at your whole clan of women and thinking, but no one has not had a child, so why me? So there'll be that aspect of denial. Then you'll also find yourself getting a lot of anger issues. And the anger could be towards yourself, what's wrong with my body? It could be towards your partner, it could even be towards God or whoever you believe in. Why is he not making me be able to do what? To conceive. It could be at your doctor, it could be even at your colleagues because they have conceived and you've not conceived. So you get very angry at them. Now, if you proceed that way, you may find yourself in a place where you become very depressed. You'll have low moods, and then you'll be irritable, you'll start sleeping too much or too little, having the classic symptoms of depression. But finally, what you do is come to a place where we say that you have accepted that is your situation, and then from acceptance, you're able to pick up and move on to doing what you need to do. So the support of people is very important. Who are you talking to? Do you have friends? Do you have colleagues? Do you have someone who you can unburden to? It could be your mom, your friend, your sister, your pastor, just someone that you're close to. And then also, of course, the other aspects of wellness. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you doing physical exercises? Because even when you do physical exercises like walking, it will release the feel-good hormones, the endorphins, and you'll feel better mentally. So when you're in that space, try and do what we call self-care. And social capital is very, very important.
Thank you, Victoria. I want to open up to get questions from the room because a lot of the questions we've been covering are from the questions that were posted. And I will take questions after this question that I want Mumbi to help us with. So be ready with your questions, and I'm going to ask for help to do that. So Mumbi, one of the questions that has come through is entrepreneurs face difficult times. So do businesses, so do organizations. And especially during these Zakayo times. You're pushing people, you want them to be productive, you want to shoot for performance. Times are hard. You have bills to pay. They're keeping you awake at night. You have shared, I know, a bit of what you support your leaders with. How do you navigate those tough times? You've been at Absa, Barclays for a long time. There's been very bad years. How did you navigate that, Mobi? Please, give us some insights.
The reality is people look at bankers and think that life looks very glossy. But I can tell you as an entrepreneur, you think that the employees in your organization and the employees at the banking institution, probably they are different. with the increased legislation and taxation, the impact on human beings is the same. The payroll taxes that have been passed through payroll for your employees are the same that have been passed through. So the one thing that you need to do as an employer is to...
But you have the money at the bank. How can you be the same as us?
So it's very important. I tell people this. You know, you get an increase. Research has shown every time you give your employees an increase, within 90 days, their expenses rise to that income. Look at your life. The minute you get more, within 90 days, your income rises to meet, your expenses rise to meet that income. So the one thing to do is to acknowledge that that's what your people are going through. We cannot, as employers, ignore just how much stress is coming in, especially with black tax. So your employees are facing black tax. They have relatives who've been laid off. They are children of neighbors. The farmers are not being able to sell their crops all the time, and they're depending on any individual around their family who has got a pay slip. So they know Mombi is employed by so-and-so enterprises. So they are like, you can help us. So your employees everywhere are facing black tax as an increased source of tax and stress. So what we do is, first of all, acknowledge that. Then appreciate that wellness is not just mental wellness. There's something called financial wellness. Building an opportunity to bring in people, consultants. Amongst us, we have consultants who do financial management and wellness. Let them come talk to our employees around, how do I manage my personal finances? What are some of the taxes that I can actually get relief? Because that's the other thing. We are not pursuing the reliefs that we can through payroll. Can you bring somebody within your organization to speak to your employees about that? Are there things that we can alleviate for our employees in terms of just helping them manage the tax? So we've opened up to say there's financial wellness, there's mental wellness, there's physical wellness, there's social wellness, and I spoke about some of those activities. Fun activities within a working environment help with social wellness. I like when the clinical psychologist says that one of the ways to help people deal with stress is to build what we call supportive tribes. Ensure your employees have a tribe. You know, a tribe is somewhere where you go and unwind and talk to, and make sure that some of those are people within the organization. It's very surprising that you get somebody who's unwell in your team and nobody knows where they live. So when there is an issue, so the question I always ask my team leaders is to say, do you know where every member of your team lives? Because it tells me whether that person has got a social tribe. So helping people build those social tribes and setups. And then, let me say this, policies. Can we build some friendly policies? If it is pregnant mothers, stress comes just by knowing that I am not being able to go to home in good time, or I'm actually not being able to carry myself when I'm getting near to the time of delivery. What are some of the policies that at an entrepreneurial level you actually can build? They don't have to be complicated. They actually can be 1 hour less of working as you get closer to the date of delivery. It's a policy. It's easy, and it helps reduce stress, but it also helps the well-being of the employee.
Yeah.
Yes, that deserves a class.
Yeah.
You said you wanted help, so
yes.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, if you want to ask a question,
Okay.
let us know.
I'll start with you.
And to who you want to respond to your question.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Nutrition by Ndenya is my name. I am a certified nutritionist, helping you to deal with lifestyle diseases. Now, and also a daughter of Zion, a proud one. My question is directed to Victoria. There's ongoing research on the connection between the gut health and mental well-being. Can you kindly just share insights on how we can leverage on this knowledge to optimize the physical and mental health? Thank you.
Can we have one more, perhaps? So
One more? And tell me who you're directing it at.
If your hand is up.
Wow. This is where
Okay, while you're getting there, I will
Yes,
get
she'll
Victoria
answer.
to begin to respond to that one.
Okay.
Thank you. So gut health, you'll find that a lot of people are having what we call acid refluxes. But if you go down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's all stemming down from stress. Now, of course, the foods that you eat also will contribute, but it's more about alleviating that stress, identifying what are my stressors. Once you get to know your stressors, then you'll ask yourself, how do I cope with them? Remember, how you cope is very different from how I will cope, because what works for one person may not work for the other person. But what we're talking about in terms of gut issues and also refluxes is usually a lot of stress that you're dealing with. So once you're able to deal with the stressors, also change of diet, because that also contributes, then you should be able to be as good as new. Yeah, but of course, if it persists, then always consult a doctor. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm Augustina from Ghana. I'm a massage therapist. For what we have been talking about, no one is stress-free. Everybody is going through stress. And I'm encouraging everybody that we should go for a spa once a while to have a massage. Most of the time, we don't have time for ourselves. We've been chasing money and working every day. And we have an emotional, psychological stress. So we're supposed to control it, having a spa for ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, Agustina is reminding us that we need to look after ourselves. And as that happens, I'm going to come back to Ken, because Ken is a health enthusiast. He can share with us how he looks after himself and maybe give us 1 or 2 tips that we can take from him on how to look after ourselves.
I think it will be easier if I share what I do.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I'm up 4:30 every morning. I'm at the gym between 5 and 5:15. I'll be there till about 7:30. I'll be in the office by 8. Without that, by 3:30 p.m., I'm not at my best. So that's just me, and that's what keeps me going. I'll go out for a bike ride on Saturday mornings, anywhere between 6 a.m. and possibly about 10 or 11 a.m. And I will relax on Sunday, just like the Lord instructed us. But in addition to that, there'll be instances where there'll perhaps be challenges that have been posted, be it on the Strava group or within the colleagues that I have. So for instance, right now,
It's your team.
my team is Duma.
Duma.
Cheetahs.
Is what? Cheetahs.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had to show up, really, for my team. And that meant that while I was seeing the rest of my teams, we have some, as you can imagine, Absa is wide. We have people from the Rift Valley. They'll easily cover 30, 40 kilometers in a day. So by the time I was done with my 87 kilometers in the week, I had done quite a bit of it. But that said, I believe that wellness for me should be all-rounded. It's the soap that keeps my body ready for anything else. That's just it. So if I don't have that done, I will struggle. I will not be at my best. So those are just some of the things that I do. And how do I achieve that? I set myself targets for every 2 months. And I change those targets every 2 months. Otherwise, I will get bored about it. But also, accountability is very important. If it is not on Strava, it doesn't exist.
You go.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You know, listening to him speak, and this question is for Reverend Kuna. Listening to him speak, I am a big believer he has a great support system to be able to do what he does. I have been known to say every woman deserves a wife. So, Reverend Kuna, I would like you to comment on women not being afraid to get the help and the support they need at home so they can function at their best. So they can also do their bike ride every Saturday morning and wake up at 4 and do the thing they want to do. You hear me? You hear me? You hear me?
Not being afraid. That is so powerful. Listen, you know, I was actually waiting for you to ask me something, because the first thing I was going to talk about is family. Whatever you're going to ask me, I was going to put family inside there. Because that is a setup that God has given us that is so critical, that you have to really understand where you are as a family. Because you as a woman, the first priority, the first thing that God has given you is a family. And if you can know your stance in a family setup, it will make you strong in everything else that you do in life. And so you must first and foremost know your position as a woman in a home. And be very, very strong in that position, in who you are and what you carry and what God expects from you. God has called a woman in a family setup to be the helper. And that means that he has put so much in you as a woman to be able to help, to navigate and to help your family to become all that they were created to become. So it doesn't even matter size or look. You carry so much as a woman, and you have to be so comfortable in that family so that you can be able to bring to society what you are expected to. Let me say that again. Let me make it clear. If you as a woman, say for instance you're married like I am, and you know your position to help, to become a helper to your husband, to your children, to your home, that even your workers know, you take care of them like the virtuous woman in the Bible. It'll enable you to become of substance when you go out there. And it is very, very important for you to have that, because if you don't, then it becomes impossible for you to do what it is that you are created to do as a woman. So know your position. The most important is know yourself. Who are you? Don't go looking
Reverend
for yourself
Kathy,
out there.
I want you to clarify. I'm the woman in the home, I'm the helper. Must I do everything myself?
No, not necessarily.
Please clarify.
No, we are not talking about you being a helper. Doesn't mean a doer, like a maid. It doesn't mean like you're now the one washing. And by the way, that notion must be killed completely, because you can get people to do that very well. It is really knowing your position, not just
So the
wash
wives
clothes.
that Caroline was saying, we can marry, quote unquote, even though we are the wives in the home.
Yeah,
you can find someone to still do it.
Yes.
Because the men, they marry a wife to do some of their things.
No. But we must never reduce ourselves to just washing underwear. We are big. I wish I had a witness in the house. We are bigger than that. We are not just there to wash underwear and to cook and to clean the house. No. Our role is so much bigger that if a woman marries a man with nothing, that woman carries everything in her to make that man the president. Also, we are not supposed to shout here. We can shout. Come on, put your hands together and say hallelujah. So what I'm saying is this, that we must not belittle ourselves and forget what we have and who we are. You must know yourself as a woman, what it is that you carry, what mandate God has placed over your head, and then sit comfortably in it. And I'm not saying you take the position of being a man. It actually doesn't even look good when you start becoming the man of the house. You take your position as a woman and run with what God has put in your spirit, and you'll be surprised how much power you carry as a woman to change the lives of those loved ones and the lives of those out there. And so it is very important for you as a woman to know who you are. Who are you? What do you carry? What's your mandate? Where are you going? What are you fulfilling? You can't fulfill everything, but there is one thing that God has called you to fulfill. What is that thing? Get a hold of it and become so good at it that you're unbeatable.
Thank you so
Hallelujah.
much. You know what?
Yes.
It's getting juicier, but we need to wrap up.
Yes.
Okay?
Somebody
so
has
this is
to
how
get
we're
to
going to
JKIA.
wrap up from my panelists.
Yes.
You know, we come here, we say this is the third Inspire Me conference. Some of us, like me, we're here a third time, right? First time. But I want to challenge you next year when you come and you're at this session, what is it you are going to have done differently? And that's what I'm going to ask my panelists to challenge us from their respective areas. Give us a task or something, even as you're doing your parting shot, so that when we come back next year, we can all be able to say, because I listened to this wellness, being resilient in my mental well-being, this is what I did, and because of that, this is what I have achieved. I'm going to start with you, Mumbi.
So I think for me, the challenge I want to leave with everyone is the many women who are here who have employees. Role model for your female employees what you want to see in a woman. Role model it. Don't come out as the perfect superwoman, because none of us is. So you show up in the office as a woman. I go into my team, and sometimes I tell them, today is not a good day. Yeah? I am experiencing the following things. I am perimenopausal. So that morning, when I woke up with a very bad headache, and I really don't want to be stressed, I tell sometimes my check-ins. We do check-ins in our team meetings. I don't know how many of you do check-ins. Create a safe environment for people to honestly tell you as a team where they are at. In that check-in, today was a bad morning, please, and I'm a woman and I'm proud of it. Yeah, that doesn't mean that I'm not effective. It's just that I can reduce some of it. So my challenge is role model what you want to see in your female colleagues, but also generally in all the employees, and allow yourself. So when you take leave so that when your employees take leave, they also can disconnect. Because one of the challenges we have is you say you've taken leave, but every day you call, you are responding to all the emails. So when they go on leave, they're also checking their emails because they think that that's how you communicate. So that's a challenge I would throw as my checkout.
Thank you.
Mercy, give me a moment. Mumbi, I need to take you off stage. JKI will not wait for you.
Thank you
Please,
so much.
clap for Mumbi as she
Let's
leaves.
clap for Mumbi. She has done an amazing job. We do not want her to miss her flight. It has been awesome, and it's been great having her. Thank you. Next, I'm going to come back to you, Victoria. Your parting shot and challenge us. What can we do? What can I do so that next time I'm better and I'll say, I did this for myself?
Thank you, Mercy. I think what you can do is to really understand how to cultivate resilience, right? Because when you talk about resilience, it's your ability to bounce back from any adversity or any challenges that you're experiencing. If you look at yourself holistically, and I'll ask you to Google the 8 dimensions of wellness, you will be able to pinpoint every area of your life and how you can actually use it to make yourself be well mentally and to sustain mental well-being. Businesses will come and go, there'll be challenges here and there, but I think Charles Darwin, it is attributed that, he said that it is not the most intelligent, nor the strongest, but the most adaptable to what? To change. I think that's my parting shot.
And that includes our tax environment and everything that comes with it. Okay, Reverend Kuna, tell us, how can we respond from a spiritual point of view, action, so that next time we're better people?
Get a mentor. Don't walk this thing alone. Life is full of challenges. We've seen that. Who is your mentor? Who is your to-go-to? Who are the people that you learn from? Make sure that you don't just do life alone. We can't be isolated. We can't be islands. Get a mentor who you can learn from and who you can also listen to, because a mentor brings in correction. A mentor will be able to show you direction. A mentor will be able to safeguard you. And so it's very, very important for you to have a mentor and know who that is. Some people have people they call mentors who are so far away that they can't really have a one-on-one. You need to have somebody that you can call at any time, somebody who is close to you, somebody who you can be naked and not ashamed. You can totally remove your mask and tell them this is where you're at, and they can be able to mentor and help you in life's challenges and where it is that you want to go. So mentor is very, 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 very key to what you will become in life and your next steps to where you want to go.
Thank you. Before you put off your mic, I know you have a mentoring school, and I know you have a conference coming up for women. I'm giving you 30 seconds to tell us about it.
Okay. You don't start counting now. I'm kidding. And Caroline is looking at me like, yes, 30. So we have a Daughters of Zion School of Mentorship. I have a Daughters of Zion ministry that started 23 years ago now, 21 years ago, sorry, in 2003, to raise up the standard among women. And we have seen a lot of women raised up from many spheres of influence, and especially when it comes to their marriages, their home stayed, and that's why I'm very, very key on family. And so we bring in women and men from all walks of life. Like this year, we are having Dr. Cindy Trim, we are having Prophetess Leslie Osei, we are having Sunmi Sola. You can Google them.
And she's here with her team, so you can look for them and they will give you more details on
Yes,
that.
we'll give you more details. And we have forums like this during the day, and maybe we are going to have Caroline Mutoko do something, because I've loved the way you've moderated. And so we have forums like this for during the day where we teach on finances, we teach on wellness, and gym and exercise.
You might call him too.
Hey, so see me after this. We teach on relationship. We have coaches that teach on parenting.
Basically covering everything. The rounded person.
Basically well-rounded. And we also partner with Absa. Absa, you guys, you're the ones, you rock. Yeah. We partner with Absa. And so it's an amazing forum where we bring in women and they get really edified.
Okay.
And they come out of there knowing what to do even in entrepreneurship and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Ken, you had some comments and wrap-up comments from you. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, so in summary, this is a summary of a book that I'm reading on Stoicism. And how I summarize it is to say that, number one, you must be confident in your actions and in your decisions. That's number one. Number two, always assume responsibility. It's not always about, as we call it in work, corporate salute. It's someone else. Nope. Ignoring social pressure and prioritizing personal values. I cannot engage in the kind of physical activity that I do if some of the other things that I hold dear are not okay. I cannot be out there cycling the entire day and come back to an angry person or family in the home. I have to balance it as well. You must, including at work, what needs to be done and by when. So that is very important. I know I have a diary date with my daughter's teachers tomorrow. I must meet that. Number four, proficiency in setting and achieving goals. But more importantly, how quick are we to realize that whatever we are trying to achieve is not achievable and we need to drop it and find something else? How quickly do we make those decisions? In summary, have your values, your priorities clear, and an all-rounded situation, well managed, is what will enable you to achieve. That's my closing remark.
Awesome. Ken has done a very good summary and wrap-up for us, and I couldn't have done it any better. So let's give the entire panel a round of applause. And we do appreciate all the questions that came in that made it so much easier for us. And I just want to say thank you. Allow me to do one announcement. And Absa has been announcing about Live to Lead going to Atlanta this August. How many of you have signed up for that? Show of hands. A business club trip to Atlanta in August. It's called Live to Lead. And if you wanted more details about that, the team told me to inform you about it. However, at this point in time, if you do not have a visa, sorry, you are time-barred. However, if you have a valid US visa or a passport that can get you to the US without a visa, you're welcome to speak to the Absa team, and they'll be happy to share more details with you. We're going to Atlanta in August. We will have a business trip starting in Atlanta, and we will crown it with a session with John Maxwell in August in Orlando, Florida. So you're welcome to join us. Thank you very much. Put your hands together for my panel.
Thank you once again.
Thank you, Caroline.
I want a picture of you amazing people here. Could my team also get ready to put the podium on stage? I want a picture. Yes, I will take your badge. It is my job to make sure you are looking amazing. Here we go. The camera crew always tells me, center stage, where the light is good, forward a little. Are we good? Guys, we good? Great. A round of applause once again for this amazing panel. I'm also making sure that each one of you gets off stage with an amazing gift from Absa. Here we go. One. Can I have them all? Two. Dr. Kuna. And here we go. Mercy, am I giving you one? Do you? No, you're almost family. You're almost family. There you go. Okay, big smile, please. Yes, there we go. There we go. There, exactly. Beautiful. Mercy? Oh, there she is. Wonderful. I wanted her. Thank you, Elizabeth. Ever so much. Thank you. Take your seats. Asanteni sana. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the podium a gentleman who is actually a spotlight because your story matters and his story matters. I haven't seen him in a minute, but dapper as always, and I have a feeling you're going to be all ears for what he has to say. Once he has finished making his remarks, he's going to ask three women to join him for a fireside chat. Elizabeth Wasuna, Gina Din, my heart, Professor Caroline Elkins, to talk about the Daughters of Africa. And they'll close out this fireside chat. It's about reinventing for growth and impact. But right now, please put your hands together for a very dapper gentleman, a man who loves Africa, the brand that is Africa, the brands that are Africa. He is Tebe Ikalafeng, founder and CEO of Brand Leadership.
So I'm still trying to recover from shooting blanks and menopause at 37. That was a fiery session. It was on fire. Ladies, how awesome was that session? My story matters because I was born like many Africans, like many African men, children who come from families where 62% are fatherless, although 57% of the men are very much alive and only 10% of them dead. Where 57% of them are growing up without a father in their home. They say, the statistics say that the men who grow up like me, they end up aggressive. They end up depressed. They end up with low self-esteem. They end up not doing well at school. They end up in jail. They end up doing drugs. And they end up wanting to commit suicide. I hope I'm proof that I am standing because I was raised by a woman. I was raised by my grandmother in Kimberley, South Africa, while my mother was out in a smaller town studying to be a nurse. Nothing is special about my story. Nothing is special about the fact that I did not grow up aggressive, doing drugs, smoking. Unfortunately, I'd love to drink and smoke and do all those I have yet. I'm 57. I'm hoping that I will grow up one day and start doing adult things like that. But I grew up confident enough to be able to be ambitious enough to say that I will go to every country in the continent, over 120 countries in the world, every continent in the world. I did that because I was raised by a woman who instilled in me the power and to believe that we can be anything that we want in this world. Yet it is always surprising for us men who were brought up by such women that we end up depriving the very women the opportunities that we have. Because it is unconscionable that it's going to take 122 years to achieve equality for men and women in this world, according to the World Economic Forum. I think 122 years I hope to be alive so that I can tell them that there, it happened. It is unconscionable to think that the women who make up 58% of the entrepreneurs on this continent do not get the same opportunities. And when they do run the businesses, that they make 34% less in profits. And yet, they are doing the impossible. They are raising us. They are fathering us. They are holding down the job. And yet, we do not give them the same recognition. Our continent has got a lot of needs. People say that our continent, we need jobs because more than 60% of this continent is under the age of 25 years old, and most of those are young boys and young girls. Our continent needs energy because without energy, we cannot fire up not only the ambitions, but we cannot even see each other. We cannot see our ideas through to fruition. Our continent needs to reduce the level of poverty and inequality that I mentioned earlier. But I'm confident that we can do this. I'm confident that I'm living in a continent that someday, very soon, will recognize the power and the strength of women. I'm confident that very soon, in the research that I've been doing for the last 14 years, where we've established that only 15% of the brands that Africans admire are made in Africa, that when we give the job to a woman, it will be the other way around. 85% of the brands that Africans consume will be African. The job is not so difficult, as Liv Johnson once said. Our continent is not poor, it is just poorly led. And for our continent, and if we want to lead our continent correctly, perhaps we can lean on to what Margaret Thatcher once said. If you want to get anything done, give it to a woman. We know this because as men, we look at you, as Maya Angelou once observed. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they cannot touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they still cannot see. It's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need in my care. Because I am woman, phenomenally woman. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to on stage 3 phenomenal women. First up, you know, as Africans, our guests, we have to put our guests up front. I would love to invite a good friend of ours, Professor Caroline Carey Elkins from Harvard University, where I know all of us want to end up one day. Professor Caroline Elkins. I was saying to Prof, I said, Prof, I'm not going to read your incredibly distinguished biography. I think everybody can Google Prof. But the one thing that they will look into, they will look in Prof's incredible book, her first book, Imperial Reckoning, the untold story of Britain's Gulag in Kenya, which won a Pulitzer Prize. An incredible book which speaks about the brutality of Britain between 1952 and 1960 here in Kenya, which was hidden which was hidden from many of us until Professor Caroline. Professor Caroline, we're terribly grateful for the book and to have you here among us. I would like to invite on stage what everybody will say, will agree, the first woman of communications in Kenya. A young woman born in Nyanyuki, a trailblazer in the communication industry, an unparalleled authority in public relations, who has been awarded multiple awards in this country and beyond this continent, Africa's daughter, Janadine Kariuki. And finally, our host, Elizabeth Wasuna Ochoa. a pioneer in women in banking, over 25 years experience showing that women do lead better than men. See, as the men, we do everything. Everybody's got a microphone? Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
You guys look amazing. Caroline,
Oh, stop it, keep it
I want to steal your glasses. Gina, I want to steal everything about you. I want to steal your brains, Elizabeth. But I want to start first with our guest, Elizabeth. I want to say, Elizabeth, you've been coming to this country 30 years.
Caroline.
Caroline, sorry. Caroline. Can't tell between black and white is a problem. Caroline Carey, apologies. You've been coming to this country for 30 years. What is the one thing that you say you've observed about African women in your interactions? Because what I love about your story is you haven't been coming here to visit. You've been coming here to understand us. What is the one attribute you have picked up about African women in those years?
Oh, the resilience. It's extraordinary. I'm an historian by trade, but also teach at the business school. So I look at I'm a constant ethnographer, right? I drive people crazy. I'm always watching, and you never know what I'm thinking, but I'm always sort of cataloging. And whether we go back 100 years, whether we go back to the colonial period, whether we look in the here and now, I was just up in Nanyuki doing some field work, whether I'm in a boardroom, the absolute resilience of women. The burden they carried in the colonial era, the burdens here in Kenya, in the resistance struggle, and today in boardrooms, the number one thing, and Gina and I were talking about this earlier on, the element that I see here so often, no offense, men will always underestimate women. That's our superpower. We creep up behind them, they have no idea. And the next thing you know, we're not in the rearview mirror anymore, we're up there. But the resilience that it requires to get to that point.
Gina, you've never been underestimated. Or have you? I mean, I think it was 97 or so when you left Barclays. Did we underestimate you?
Yes.
Well,
and I mean, if we did underestimate, how did you show us up?
Well, I kicked enough doors down. And I think, just to go back, so I started my life with Barclays that then morphed into Absa. And so when I hear the stories of how Absa has given women so many opportunities, it's just part of their DNA. It's part of what they do. It's part of what they did for me in taking a risk on me at the age of 21. But it's also what made me decide that, the doors I've kicked down, I want to make sure that they're open and that more and more women get into those rooms where decisions are being made. And so I think I underestimated myself, Tebe, to be honest.
So you underestimated what you were able to do.
I did, yeah. I never, I was brought up as a girl. I was brought up not, realizing that I could do everything that I've done. And so I'm very proud of who I've become and who I am because I didn't even think I was capable of doing that.
Well, Elizabeth, I mean, you've been doing this for 25 years now, and you've pioneered the concept or really brought women into banking. And how have you been able to break down the barriers? Gina talked about she underestimated herself. Did you also underestimate what you are capable of doing? I mean, we're here because of you, rather because of Barclays, Absa, and what you. Right?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's always one of the questions that people keep asking. Did you ever think that it would ever be this big? Maybe not, but I was very sure with the mother and the grandmother I had, I was going to make a difference. The question was what it was going to be. So one of the things, I celebrate them because they also haven't seen where I am today. But I'm sure they're looking from above and just, we're very grateful for that. So I would say it takes a lot. And to the point that Reverend Kathy spoke about earlier on, having a vision, having a very clear vision, and not being allowed, don't allow yourselves to be shaken from that vision. If you're very clear about your vision, you plan your plan A, plan B, plan C. My team will tell you that when I get hooked onto something, it's very difficult to get me off it. I must execute it, whichever way. It may mean I might put it aside for a little bit, but it must get done. So a conversation like this inspired me. I remember we sat with Susan Situma, who's now, moved on to another job. But we sat down and we said, is it possible for women to transverse the continent to have a conversation? And we thought, yeah, maybe let's do it virtually. No, physically. And look at what has happened today. We thank God for that. Yeah.
Gina, while we're on, just one, when she says, look at where we are today. So in 97, when you left, what was the picture like? Could we see so many women here, or was it all blank shooters?
So none of my role models were women because they just weren't any, So I think that's who I want to be. I want to be the role model that I never had because all my role models didn't look like me. They weren't, they were men in corporate jobs because I didn't have any women that I could aspire to be. But having said that, I think when we look at mentors, we shouldn't just look at me, see what I've done, and I want you to do what I've done. I think mentors need to be people that are walking with you and doing it with you and helping you as you walk the journey of being an entrepreneur. So I think the whole definition of mentors has not only changed in they're more women, but they're also the definition of what a mentor is. And I think the kind of mentor I want to be is where we're walking alongside.
So, Carrie, when you look then internationally and look at the women who are really doing well in the world, who are they looking up to? Or what are they doing different that African women can pick a leaf from?
That's a wonderful question, and I just want to get back to, I love Gina's point about walking alongside someone, and I think when I think about mentorship, it's not about creating a carbon copy of you, right? And this ties into your point, which is what do I see in terms of women who have been successful? It's women who have given themselves the permission to be successful. They have given themselves the permission to not be, and I want to be careful with this, just mother, just wife. Permission to lead from the front. Permission to turn to Gina or Elizabeth and say, I need your help. I can be vulnerable with you because I know you won't hold that against me. And I think this notion of sisterhood internationally, it can cut both ways. Women can be the worst people holding each other back, or we can be the best champions. And internationally, those women who have been deeply successful have had women championing them, and they've paid it forward by championing others.
A beautiful answer. Elizabeth, so, I spoke in my opening remarks about women-led businesses making 34% less profits than men. So, as Absa and what you're trying to do with this initiative, how are you helping women to ensure that their businesses can be, I don't want to say as successful, but I want to say that they can be equally recognized, or equally they get their dues?
Thank you. That's a real question. And I know we get called a lot to speak about that. But first and foremost, you know how women, when you open your business, the name of your business ordinarily will be, for instance, in my case, Elizabeth and Sons. I don't know why we don't say Elizabeth and Daughters, but that's a different conversation. When you name a business after yourself, or you have a business of yourself and your husband, you know how they have, I know there's a population in here that normally calls themselves, you use the first two words of this, your first name and another two. It will always be a name like Joneka. I don't know what that is, but you name it from a personal perspective. So you want that business to go to transcend, your generation, and to be able to hand it to the next generation and so on. So it is really important for us at Absa that we establish, or we manage, or we support women to build businesses that will transcend generations. So what we are then saying is that we've taken women, we've sat with women. We went back to speak to women, because it's one thing for us at head office to say, what can we offer? We have bucket loads of products. But the truth of the matter, the woman herself told us what they wanted. And it boiled down to 4 things. We kept on saying, can we have access to finances? And not just any finances. We want finances that are light on capital, or on collateral, because we don't have collateral. The second thing the women told us is we want networking opportunities such as this. They also told us we want opportunities for markets because we have the products we are able to deliver, we have the services that we can be able to offer, but we need those markets. So we've started that journey in Absa, taking women. Look, we have women from all over Africa in this conversation as well. And the last one, they asked us, after all these trainings, and in the last 3-4 years, we've had lots of training, whether it is online. We've been bombarded with training. People listen to training in the car, in their houses, as they're walking around. God knows we have a lot of training. But the truth is, do we have mentoring and coaching that will support those trainings? And so in our proposition, we have that clearly defined. And we don't do it alone. We have partners to be able to support us because, again, we are bankers. So we need people. We have organizations that are helping us in the mentoring and coaching situation to ensure that women have exactly what the men have to build a resilient business.
Interesting. Gina, I want to pick up on that, but I want to look at it in two parts. The first part is we're talking about the names. How important has your name been to open up doors for you? Because I think everybody knows you across the continent, that your name, when you say Jenadin, karaoke, they know who's coming, they'll open the door. Has your name been important? That's one. And then second, linked to Elizabeth's comment about mentoring, and you spoke about mentoring somebody who walks next to you. Did you find those mentors in your journey? Or what role did they play in getting you to where you got to run your business? I mean, for what, over 20 years you ran your business?
Yeah, it was actually 24. But I think, when I was at Barclays, I became the face of the brand. So, I would work for Barclays, but I was also, without me knowing, I was creating my own brand. And so 14 years into my journey at Barclays, and I was getting ready to pursue other things, it just made sense that everybody knew who I was to call my brand the name that everybody knew. Because if I went and said, I was Mount Kenya Communications or something, they would not have an idea. So it was very strategic that I named myself after a brand that I had already created. The second thing was mentors. I found, great mentors, all men, that have walked beside me and that have helped me. And that's I think that really, is at a point where it has to change, and I think it is changing. The one thing that I wasn't mentored enough on, as you know, I built a business and then I got acquired by the world's largest PR company. But no one really prepared me for that journey and what it was like to go through a due diligence by a global, very big boy, especially as an African brand. And so the one thing that I wish, and I hope Absa will do a lot more of, is that entrepreneurs need to be prepared for the end, with the end in mind. And nobody prepared me. And it was a very, very tough due diligence, 2.5 years. A due diligence that probably should have took more because I was an African brand. But I think those are the kind of areas that we need to look at, Elizabeth, is that it's great to talk about starting businesses and access to capital. And I don't know, Carrie, you might have some views on this, but preparing somebody for an exit is also equally important.
So Carrie, perhaps comment on that in terms of how important it is to help women there. But I wanted to precursor that question with, we always say behind every great man is a great woman. And Gina said, well, I had a great name. I didn't need to go behind any great man. How important is it for you, or what have you learned in terms of how advantageous is it for women to stand out and say, I'm Jenna Den, and this is my business? Has that, in your studies, your travels, looking at women entrepreneurs around the world, how has that worked out?
It's worked out. I mean, it's worked out well just because of the foundation that I put into creating my personal brand. I'm consistent. I'm trusted. So there's a lot of work that went into before I was able to go public and say, this is Gina Din, the brand, and I could be a great partner in your business. There was a lot of work that went into creating who I was as a personal brand while I was working for Barclays. I think it is important, and I'm very proud of the brand that I built.
And Carrie, what have your observations been around the world in that space? Because if it's worked out for Jenna, maybe a couple others, maybe Carola Mutoko. I don't know if it's working well for the rest of the women because all of them are making 34% less, but they're working more than almost 60% occupying the business here while they're still holding a job.
Yeah, I think a few thoughts come to mind. One is, which is when you said behind every successful man there's a woman. Behind every successful woman is a big pile of laundry and a sink full of dirty dishes, right? And it's true, right? You have to put your success first, along with other things that are top priorities. And it was so easy to allow all these others, the daily grind of life, the expectations, all these kinds of things. And what I love about Gina's story, and one of the things that I have certainly in my own work, and getting back to sort of ethnographer recognized about very successful women and putting themselves first, is that they go out and grab it. They are not hesitant to say, my name, Gina Din, that's what people recognize, right? And so often when you sit around a table, and I'm sure many of us have been there, you sit around a table and an idea comes up and sort of people nod their head and then the guy says it and they're like, oh, great idea, right? When your name is attached to it and you are standing up there saying, and you stand up for yourself, you put yourself forward, because here's the thing. There's nobody out there who's going to care about your success as much as you. And one of the things that I love about hearing your story, Gina, and listening to your story, Elizabeth, is that you seem to intuitively understand that. And in different ways, you've navigated your vision, your sense of your own brand. And that's the kind of sort of common denominator that I see, along with the fact that bottom line is there's never ever substitute for hard work. But I've never seen that sort of encumber women of success. It's typically sort of those societal constraints that say, oh, I have to stand back a little bit, or I can't go out there and grab it, or I can't have this transformative vision.
Or I have to get my husband to lead it. I'll support them from behind.
Or I have to do that laundry or go to that. No. Number one, nobody will care as much about your own success than you. And that seems to be something that women who are successful fully understand.
So Elizabeth, that pile of laundry behind you, how did you balance that pile of laundry that Carrie's talking about? The pile of laundry, the dirty nappies, the whining husband, the cooking, and then as an executive at Absa. How do you do it? Are we not asking too much of women, or are we not being unrealistic?
No. You know what? In the previous panel, they spoke about having wives. Ladies, we know what that looks like, right? The truth is you have to have a lot of support. There's no question in my mind. There's this superwoman concept. I don't know who came up with it. Maybe they try to break women, telling you to be able to do the dishes, to go shopping, to go, take your children to this and that. I mean,
but you guys are doing it so well.
Yes. Because
in addition.
because I delegate. All I need to do is check on the phone for some of these things. And quite honestly, I remember one of my good friends, Mary from Equity, saying that, who told us that we must be the ones to go shopping consistently? Go and pick up the laundry. Go and drop the children. You must learn how to delegate. Because if you don't, you drive yourself crazy. And yet, I have a job that is demanding of targets every year. I don't think there's any year the targets go down. Even in COVID, they didn't go down. So the question is, how do I make sure that I have a wife who can support me to pick up the children? And it could be a man driving, so that could be the wife. I have somebody who has a view on what needs to be made every single day. And if they don't, I'll make sure that somebody else gets to teach them, or I teach them myself. I know everything, the way you organize your life in the office, similar to my home. Things must work in a certain way with the backup. And, without that, you can't move.
And Gina, is it the same for you? I mean, you're married to a very successful husband who spends 80% of the time in the skies, while you spend 80% of the times on the road. How did you balance it, or did you need to balance it?
Tebe, I really hate the question of balance because it's unfairly targeted to women. I don't see any other panels where men are asked about balance. I think the way you make it sound is that it's not possible to be a successful entrepreneur and a dedicated mother. And I am both. And many women here are both. So my success as a woman is precisely what Elizabeth said. I've delegated. I also have an extremely supportive family. I have an incredible husband, 2 children that I get a lot of my inspiration from. But you can definitely be a successful entrepreneur and a good mother and a good wife and be a great friend. But I never see this question given to any panel where men are.
Men are very unfair, aren't they, Carrie, with their questions?
I'm going to dodge that question by giving an anecdote, which is, I remember it because I want to be very, to be fair to some folks sitting in the audience. I mean, all of us, I suspect, at different points had that clench, right? When the kids go off or you miss this or that. And so one day, I have 2 boys. They're now 22 and 24. And one is an entrepreneur and one's a would-be entrepreneur soon. And I don't know, they were maybe about 8 and 10, and we were sitting at the breakfast table, and that was a time that I always insisted when I was home that I carved out. I sat with them, and I said to them, guys, I'm going to miss, I don't know what I was missing, and I'm so different than these other mothers, and these are 8 and 10-year-old boys. My little one, the 8-year-old, who, by the way, throws around nickels like they're manhole covers. He's all about sort of what the bottom line is. He said, Mom, really, what do these women do all day? Like, seriously, like, you do real things. I don't know. And my point with this is that for these 2 young men, boys, now grown men, and I'm very proud of the partners they've chosen who have successful careers, they know no other way than a woman is supposed to go out there and be successful and be self-confident. And that's how that was their role model of womanhood. And so I think when we change the narrative and we think about storytelling and we think about how they narrate what it means to have a wife and to have a mother, their view, and I think it's probably the same for the both of you, is that their normative is that women go out and are hugely successful in their jobs.
And I'm glad you spoke about stories because when you look at where the Absa brand is talking about your story matters. And Elizabeth, how are you ensuring that the stories of these incredible women entrepreneurs are being heard?
Thank you. That's when we changed our brand, and last year I think engaged the purpose around empowering Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time, because that became our purpose as a brand. It became important that we start capturing stories. So if I look back on the journey for the women proposition, we have taken a lot of stories, but what were we doing with them? Became the issue. It's like you collect a lot of data, but what do you do with the data? What does the data tell you? So today, our biggest piece is encouraging women, our customers across board, to tell their stories. Those stories shared in groups like this are so empowering because you learn something. You learn something different from everybody's story. You might be 2 people in the same industry, perhaps even on the same street, but your journeys are very different. The challenges that you go through are very different. And so telling your story begins to put together what we call, a vision for you. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You can hop, skip, and jump and move to the next level. So we're big on storytelling, but what I know is each and every woman in this room has a story, and we need to tell it.
Well, Jenadine, you didn't wait for anybody to tell your story. You wrote your best-selling book, Daughter of Africa. And why was it so important for you to write that book and tell your story? And I guess that's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, how are you enabling other women to tell their story?
Yes, absolutely. So after my business got acquired, COVID happened quite soon after. And there was this whole period that I look back on now and say, thank God it happened. I would not have had a book if I hadn't had the time and the space in which to write my story, Daughter of Africa. It was a very reflective process, but also quite important for me to see how far my journey as a woman entrepreneur in Africa, how far I'd come. And when my book came out, and Tebe, you were part of the launches that I've had in various countries, but I realized that my book was really going to be a catalyst for the many other women on the continent who have strong and powerful stories. Some that are just so inspirational, but they're not going to sit down. Many of them are not going to sit down and write a book. So my passion and my drive right now is to collect as many of these stories of inspiring African women and to highlight and to amplify the voices of these women. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building a platform in which we're going to highlight the stories of these women.
Thank you, Gina. I think that'd be wonderful. Clap hands for that. That's what I meant to say. Carrie, I mean, as a writer, storytelling is your business. I mean, you're a professor, you're a writer, and in your observations from female entrepreneurs in the continent, I imagine you also looking at it and says, why are these stories not being told?
Absolutely, and I think, first of all, I think that the work that both these ladies to my left, it's very humbling, by the way, to be up here with the two of you, to my left, are doing to ensure that this happens. It's a combination of the motivation behind it and the platform for dissemination, which is a combination of these. Because look, what we know is that we as human beings, think about how you learn, each and every one of you. Think about something that was really important that you've learned. It wasn't some framework or somebody gave you a good theory. We as human beings learn through stories, always. Right? Stories, how a story is assembled, it has to inspire, whether an individual or a community or an organization. And so for female entrepreneurs, it's not just, and I want to say just because your stories are incredible, each and every one of you, but it's how you tell the story, right? How you tell the story. How do you understand and how can you communicate in the most, honestly, simplest of terms in ways that can inspire? And I think one of the things that I love working with Gina on, and we're beginning work now with Elizabeth, is thinking, how do we narrate these? How do you begin your story? Think about a great story you heard. Where does it start? Where does it stop? You ever hear a story and somebody gives you lots of details and you just kind of glaze over, right? How do you pace your story? How do you narrate it? So it's not just the content, it's the style, it's the form. And I think so it's one of the exciting things to think about when I think about the work that's ongoing now on the continent and the work that's being spearheaded right here by women on the stage.
I am going to ask, Kerala Mutako, with your permission, perhaps there's 2 or 3 people who have questions for these 3 incredible women, whose stories are quite inspiring, and they may want to get 1 or 2 tips on how their stories can be amplified.
Any questions? You know me, I'll run up to where you are. Honestly, it had to be from the back of the room. Is that even fair? Look at that. Look at that. There's one somewhere here. Okay, I'll start there and somehow I'll get to you, okay? And Professor Elkins, I believe you also have an announcement to make.
We will be
No. I'm just letting you to know to get ready.
We'll close with that.
You'll close with that. Okay, super. We'll start with a question here before I jog to the other side of the room.
Hi, Gina. I think my question is with you. You are a queen in PR and marketing. However, as you created the Gina Dean brand name, are there things that could be an issue that you'd tell us these are red alerts if this happens to your brand, or if you're creating one and this is the obstacle, this is how to go about it?
When I started, I thought I could do everything. So I started out and I was going to be, it was a 2-people show, but I soon realized that I had to hire my weaknesses. And I think that's what not enough entrepreneurs do. They don't hire their weakness. And so my weakness was, the finance side. I was very much the big picture. So I think the important thing that I learned on my journey was I learned how to hire my weakness. And I carried on doing that as I built my brand. The other thing was, not being shy of being a proudly African brand. I think initially lots of us want to hide behind international brands, but what I learned all along was that I wanted to be an African brand, and I wanted to support African brands in telling their story. So if I was to say the one thing would be to hire your weakness.
Good evening. My name is Clara, founder of Supanguo. So my question goes to the women at the front. I'm a young entrepreneur, currently 22 years old. Thank you. And one of the scariest thing is going forward to people who are above 45, especially men. So how are you able to deal with that?
First of all, congratulations at 22. It's wonderful, wonderful, and I spend a lot of my life mentoring young people your age. Here's what I would say to you. Everybody in this room, think about it for a moment. Each and every one of you has a superpower. We all do. Think about, Gina just explained what hers, and what I would say to you is, I want you to think about what your superpower is and lean into it. Because nobody will have that superpower like you do. Not those 45-year-old men, not those 22-year-old men. It's your superpower, and that is what you have. That's the arrow in your quiver. And most of all, look around this room, this entire room. You now have an entire ecosystem of women who are here that have your back. And so at the end of the day, it's your superpower and those who will want to walk that journey beside you. And I want to say congratulations at 22. Just go for it and grab it and own it.
Thank you so much, Caroline. To close, one word, Elizabeth, that these women must take with so that next year when we come back, we'd have changed their lives. And that's the same question to you, to Gina, and to Caroline to close. The one word.
Typical Kenyan. Can I have two more? I think the things that keep on coming to my mind is that we have an opportunity to learn, unlearn, relearn. That flips through my mind constantly. Learn, unlearn, relearn.
Tepe, can I have more than one?
I didn't expect a PR person to have one word, but yes, more than one word, Gina.
I think it's embracing both success and failure because I think every entrepreneur will go through both. So we can't, and also let's not compare our successes to somebody else's successes. Successes are very personal, failures are very personal. We're all going to have both in our journey as an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I think I'm the consummate educator, right? And so there's a wonderful psychologist named Carol Dweck who writes about the growth mentality and that we should constantly be thinking about how we can grow beyond where we are. And so for me, it would be to think about what is that one area, and I think about this quite intentionally. Typically, I know we're not supposed to make New Year's resolutions, but typically at the start of the year, which is what is my area of self-improvement going to be? And so I would put to each and every one of you, when we come back next year, to come back with one thing that you have focused on, that you challenged yourself, that you pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone to learn something new for your own self, for your own self-improvement.
Thank you so much. And now the final comment. These two women, three phenomenal women, they realized that this cannot just end up as a talk shop. And I think Elizabeth has got a surprise gift
Ladies,
from the women on the panel.
Yes, ladies, turn to your neighbor and say, my friend, you did the right thing to stay to the end. Good things come to people who stay to the end. Thank you. Ladies, the reason why I say this is because every time we go into conversations with women, we need to make sure that when we leave here, we leave with something that is impactful and is able to take us to the next level. Are we together? And one of the things that we've spoken about a lot in this conversation is how do we get mentored? We are at different levels. Some of us are looking and seeing where we're going to start. Others have started the journey. Others are on the journey. Others are thinking that they're ending the journey, but guess what? You can actually pivot to the next level. So in partnership, and I know our MD spoke about partnership quite a bit, big deal. We can't do these things alone. The partnership of these powerful ladies who are sitting in here have offered us and have given us this opportunity. And I want us to be very intentional about it, even as I will ask for more. But this is the intention around what Professor Carrie Elkins has offered us from a Harvard Business School. Harvard Business School. The first 100 women, and I think the logistics we will give you in a short while, to the first 100 women who will get onto the, I think, Caroline, are you going to help me with the details around that? Yeah? But we are offering to the first 100 women who will respond to the rules of the game. Now, the opportunity is a 1-hour mentoring session with Harvard Business School through Professor Carrie Elkins. Now, ladies, the secret of going into a mentoring class, please, musituangushe. Make sure you're very purposeful and intentional about what you're going to say within the 1 hour. Don't get in there and ask about the weather. Make sure you're very intentional about the conversation you're going to have, because it's a conversation that could change your life, because it's a mentoring session. It will open your mind. The answers lie within you, but a conversation can pivot you to the next level. Are we together? But I think from my point of view, having looked at the room, I think we are more than 100.
Yes.
Professor, do you think we can ask for more?
Oh, I think there's always a possibility for more.
Excellent. So Caroline, maybe over to you.
I think we will discuss the mechanics,
all right,
so that we ensure that we're able to communicate to everybody and send, but we'll discuss that.
Fantastic.
But I wanted to first close, so that I close and said, Elizabeth Wasuna Ochwa, for your hosting this incredible session and the women and being part of this panel. I wanted to say thank you for your contribution. Jonathan Kariuki, thank you for your contribution. I think you said to me, those same 100 will get a Jonathan Kariuki Daughter of Africa book. I hope I didn't mishear you, or I have just sold you out. So if you don't have the book, I've just sold you out, you're going to get Jenna's book. And to Professor Caroline Elkins, thank you so much for being such a great friend, not just of African women, but of Africa, and helping to tell our story. I think your book and your books on the country and the continent have been very transformational in telling the story, not just of us, but the story of Africans everywhere else. I want to thank you, ladies, for an incredible session. We will see all these ladies on the Daughter of Africa platform very soon. And over to you, Caroline Mutov.
Thank you. What I would like is a round of applause. Please step forward. I want a picture to commemorate this moment as I get ready for three very important speakers. One being Madam Ursula. She's from GEPA, and she'll be speaking to us very soon, after which I have to officiate a graduation in this very room. They shall be dancing and they shall be singing, after which I'll be asking Nancy Modoni to take to the stage. So once again, a big round of applause as Tebe, Gina, Professor Ellis, and Elizabeth Wasuna step off stage. I'm not sure I need the podium. Do you need the podium? No, you're good? Fantastic. Please allow me to welcome Madam Ursula Tawia to acknowledge her team from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. She's taking all of 3 minutes. All of 3 minutes. Others, I'll play you like the Oscars. I will kill your microphone. Here we go. Please, clap her onto stage.
Hello. My name is Eslatevia. I am the Regional Director for Western and Western North region of Ghana. I'm here on behalf of my CEO, Osafuhene Dr. Afua Sabia Asari, the first. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and vibrant women entrepreneurs across Africa. It is an honor to stand before you at the Inspired Me Conference, a gathering that epitomizes the spirit of collaboration, empowerment, and inspiration. Since its inception in 2021, this conference has become a beacon for women in business, fostering a space where ideas are exchanged and stories of growth and transformation are shared. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this remarkable event. Your dedication to creating a platform that amplifies the voices of women entrepreneurs is truly remarkable. To all the participants, your presence here is a testament to your commitment to personal and professional growth. And I am inspired by your journeys. The theme for this year's conference, Empowering Your Story for Growth, resonates deeply with the mission of Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA for short. At GEPA, we believe that every entrepreneur has a unique story, and it is through the empowerment of these stories that we can drive sustainable growth and development. Today, I would like to share insights on export readiness. Of course, it has been shared here already. So, we'll take excerpt of it. In today's globalized economy, export readiness is a vital aspect of business growth. For African women entrepreneurs, the ability to extend beyond domestic market and tapping into international market can be a game changer. Exporting offers opportunities for increased revenue, business expansion, and exposure to global best practices. However, the path to export readiness entails strategic planning, capacity building, and a comprehensive grasp of market dynamics. For SMEs, understanding the target market marks the initial strides towards export readiness. It is imperative to ensure that your product meets international or quality standards and preferences of the target market. This may entail adopting product features, packaging, labeling to meet international norms. Priority should be given to quality control and continuous improvement to build a reputation for reliability and excellence. Networking stands as a powerful tool for growth. And so, leveraging platforms such as this conference can facilitate connections with fellow entrepreneurs, industry experts, and potential partners. Collaborative endeavors can lead to valuable partnership, mentorship opportunities, and access to new markets. For women entrepreneurs, securing finances often proves to be a significant challenge. And this is the reason why Absa is here. So I'll skip it. Finally, as SMEs, you must invest in continuous learning and development. Participate in training programs that enhance your skills in areas such as export documentations, international trade regulations, and digital marketing. Empower your team. It has been said, and I will emphasize on that. Empower your team with the knowledge and tools needed to navigate the complexities of the global market. At the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, we are committed to supporting women entrepreneurs in their export journey. We have a variety of programs aimed at empowering women entrepreneurs, such as GIPA Regional Women Icon. In this program, we select women industrialists in each region to celebrate and promote as role models for other younger women entrepreneurs to emulate. We also have the GIPA Export School, which has trained and provided many women entrepreneurs with the necessary information on the latest export trends to enhance their competitiveness, effectiveness, and efficiency. This prepares them to be export ready. Our goal in all this is to empower women entrepreneurs with the resources and knowledge needed to succeed in the international arena. In closing, I urge you to embrace the theme for this conference, empowering your story for growth. Your journey, experiences, and aspirations are the building blocks of a brighter future for Africa. Let us work together to unlock the full potential of African women entrepreneurs, driving economic growth and creating a legacy for empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. I'm still working on the modalities on how you get to your 1 hour of coaching with the professor. By the way, when I finally come up with it, you see, I'm sitting here thinking, do I do to you what they did to me when I applied to go to Harvard? Because they ask you, what is your executive challenge? And you're like, I have one. But I did have to write my essay, and I did very well, because remember, you don't just go, you're accepted. So I'm really thinking about that, and Elizabeth Wasuna and I will think about it. Right now, I'd like to get a graduation underway. There are people in this room who apparently went to school for how many months? 6 or 9? How long? How long were you in school for? 9 months. They were part of Melanin Capital. And this is the Melanin Capital graduation, and it will be handled by me, Melanie Keita, CEO and co-founder, Melanin Capital, and I want her here, because the first thing I'm going to do is recognize the top 9 graduates, okay? But first, I think you're going to tell us who you are, so that we know what we're celebrating. Is this you? All of you? You are Melanin Capital. Come on. No, round of applause. I'm going to give you the microphone. You got 3 minutes to impress everybody here about the graduation ceremony we're about to have.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, CS Rebecca Miano, Absa CEO Mohamed Abdi, Absa Director Elizabeth Wasuna, the entire Absa Kenya team, AGF, AFAWA team, our partners, other delegates, the women in the house, and the men supporting women in the house, all protocol observed, good afternoon. Today, as the CEO of Melanin Capital, it is my greatest pleasure to welcome all of you, our inspiring graduates. Congratulations. Today marks the close of the first cohort of the Tuungane 2X na Absa program, powered by Melanin Capital and supported by the African Guarantee Fund and the AFAWA program from the African Development Bank. After years of preparations and 9 months of credit readiness training where we worked hard on accounting, legal structures, pitching, and branding, we are finally here. We are finally here to celebrate all of you. And we are immensely proud and inspired by your stories. Today is a very important day for us at Melanin Capital because we started this mission with the team of Absa some years ago to think on how can we contribute to actually help women businesses to access financing. We've been hearing and hearing over and again that there is $42 billion missing since 2019. So where are we in this? How are we closing the gap? Are we getting even closer? Those are the questions that the Absa team, the Melanin Capital team, the AGF team, and the AFAWA team are asking themselves every day. And this support and this Tungane 2X program is our first stone towards that contribution. It is called 2X because we are not only supporting women in business, but also the men that are supporting women through employment and through products that are served to this market. And the reason why we exist until today is because every single day we are working on making this gap smaller, on making sure that even one woman gets closer to getting financing, that one woman gets to get the first US dollars. And we'll see today where we are on that. And even if the road is very far towards helping all the millions of women that are still excluded, we are getting closer to sustainable growth, closer to access to markets, and closer to access to capital. So again, congratulations to all of you. We are extremely proud of your success and all the sustainable businesses that we've got to see during our pitch events and all the different activities of that program. And of course, we did not manage this alone. Thank you again to our partners, Absa Bank Kenya, AFAWA, and the African Guarantee Fund for making this possible. As I close, I would like to give you a last quote that was inspired from what I heard from the CS Rebecca Mianos this morning. It is a quote from Wangari Maathai, who is an environmentalist that I got to learn when I landed here in Kenya. She said, "Finally, I was able to see that if I had a contribution I wanted to make, I must do it despite what others said. I was able to see that it was okay to be who I was, that it was okay and all right to be strong." I love this quote because it reminds me and all of the women that it is okay to be unapologetic about ourselves, about our power, and it is all right to be strong. So with that, it is my pleasure to welcome our top graduates and to welcome Betty Meto, Project Officer of the Africa Guarantee Fund, followed by Eva Ruganzu, Manager East Africa Office of the African Development Bank, who will tell us about the partnership and share a few words about their support from those institutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much. Are those two people available? Because I do want to work in the interest of time. While they're making their way onto the stage, awesome. I just wanted to let you know, today is the last day, and all the exhibitors are giving discounts on shopping. And what Elizabeth Osuna has done is give everybody a shopping bag. So if you haven't gotten yourself a shopping bag, please collect one at the exit. Madame, the floor is yours, and you do have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Melanin Capital. Mine today is to congratulate the graduates who have done a fantastic job. I met one of them today, and she was, so I asked her, so how was the program? And she's like, she's learned a lot. So without further ado, congratulations on successfully completing the Tuungane na 2X cohort program by Melanin Capital. This significant achievement reflects your dedication, hard work, and commitment to your personal entrepreneurial growth. We at Africa Guarantee Fund are proud of their achievements this far. We would like to extend our heartfelt congratulations and gratitude to Melanie Capital for their exceptional training and guidance throughout this program. Our sincere appreciation also goes to Absa Bank Kenya for providing the much-needed capital and ensuring that they are playing the pivotal role of bridging the financing gap facing women SMEs in Africa. Additionally, we deeply appreciate our other partners, which is the Africa Development Bank, whose initiative, the AFAWA program, supports the implementation of the AGF's Guarantee for Growth and Capacity Development Initiative. Your collective efforts have been instrumental in making this journey a success. To the graduates of this Tuungane 2X cohort, as you step forward, armed with the new knowledge and skills, you are not only advancing your own ventures, but also paving the way for other women in business. Go forth and use your voices, as Patricia said yesterday, to be the way makers for others, harnessing the new opportunities that lie ahead. Remember, as iron sharpens iron, so too will your experiences and insights continue to shape and inspire others around you. Your courage, resilience, and innovation are truly inspiring, and we are excited to see the remarkable impact you will continue to make in your respective fields. The network and the friendship you have formed here is invaluable as you navigate the journey ahead. Keep striving for excellence and never stop believing in the power of your dreams. Once again, congratulations to each of you. We celebrate your success and we look forward to witnessing your continued achievements. I would like to now...
I will call out the 9.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for her. Graduates, one and all, please be upstanding because I will be calling you on stage. I'm calling out the graduates. Thank you. Thank you. The graduates now. I'd like the following to make their way on stage to receive their graduation honors. Top Masterclass Mastery Award, John Irifam, a one-month sponsorship Raise community account. John Irifam, not here? Fantastic. The next person I would like to call on stage is Top Masterclass Mastery Award, Violia. Violia is here? Violia is here? There's a reason I said all graduates be upstanding. Top Masterclass Mastery Award, Mar Society. Mar Society, are you here? A top Impact Story, Rose Moses. Rose Moses, are you here? Congratulations. Top Growth Story, Mama Fua. Mama Fua is here. Top Green Champion Manufacturing, Anita Shaw. Top Green Champion Agriculture, Elizabeth. Top Green Champion Fashion, I'm looking for Nelly. Congratulations. Top Seller Winter. Top Seller Winter. And finally, I need, please, on stage, we've got to celebrate you. Top 9. Here we go. For the rest of the graduating class, I'd like you to be upstanding right where you are. Please stand. These are my top 9. Please move this way. Move this way so I can get a good picture. The last person I want is the Melanin Capital SME of the Year, Lynette. Who is Lynette out of all of you? Lynette? Okay, I'm waiting for Lynette. Lynette, it's important that I have you here. Lynette, please join us on stage because you in particular, no more speeches. Photos will be taken. Elizabeth, the reason I want you on stage is because Lynette, please raise your hand. Lynette gets a built account sponsorship 1 year and 2 months sponsored raise community account. And I think, Elizabeth, that means she actually gets some cash. I think that means she gets some money. I believe she gets some money. Yes, this is why I wanted Elizabeth on stage. These are the top graduates in this class. There you go, Lynette, look at that. I need a pen. I need a pen because it must be signed. A check doesn't count without a signature. You see, everybody wants a check now. Wait a minute. Lynette, have you looked at it? It says 6 million. Lynette, it says 6 million. Okay. Okay, here we go. Congratulations to each and every one of you. To Lynette, to Winter, to Nellie, to Elizabeth, to Anita Shaw, Mama Fua, Rose Moses, Ma Society, Viola, and John Irifam. There you go. To the other graduates in the room, please get on stage. We want a beautiful picture before the pyros are gone. I need you on stage now. Let's go. Graduates. Graduates, I don't need bags, I need graduates. Graduates, please, on stage. Please, I want to have a picture with you. Let's go. I want you all on stage. Each and every one of you on stage, congratulations. 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 Big smile when you get on stage. Well done. Congratulations, each and every one of you. Congratulations. Okay. I will need some of you to come down here. There are very many of you. You'll disappear down here. Kutokapa, come down here. Fantastic. Down here. I can see you all if you come in front. There. That's enough. All right. Down here. Move forward. Move forward. Come. Come, move this way. Move this way. Move. Let's create room for everybody. Let's create room for everybody. Yes. Come. Yes. Wonderful. Room for everybody. Nothing is going to burn you. Trust me. It will not burn you. No, just come here. There you go. Super. There we go. Big smile. Congratulations. And Lynette, well done. 6 million is no mean feat. Congratulations to each and every one of you. I will ask the camera crew if they're happy with the pictures. Check has been signed. Pictures are taken. Graduation is done. Congratulations. Please take your seats. As the graduates come off stage, I wanted to remind you, imagine I still have your vouchers under the desk. Under the desk. It is actually stapled, pinned, and stuck under your table. I have dinner for 2 here. I have a lot of Absa goodies. I have so much. Look for them. Look for them. Look for them. Under. You guys are looking. Yes, under. No, not under the tablecloth. Under the table. It's stuck under. Oh yeah, see? Yay, well done. Well done. Please get your vouchers. Keep looking, under. You see? Thank you. Let's come and see you. All right. Thank you. You got your envelopes? You got your envelopes? Fantastic. So you will see Yvonne at the back. Fantastic. I told you I was going to be like Oprah. I told you. Okay, so as a very merry graduates, and the 6 million check bearer come off stage. Congratulations. I want to make way for an amazing woman. She inspired me to do what I do because she did it with such ease and such class. But she has been here since yesterday. She has been part of this conversation. She has smiled and cheered. She has learned, inspired, and actually been inspired. So I want to ask you to put your hands together for a person whose story matters, because you need to hear this story. No, come on up. Her name is Nancy Modoni. And Nancy, you better be the biggest, baddest speaker we ever had, because you are our last story at the Absa Inspire Me 2024. She's busy saying, please, can I have the podium? And I'm like, of course she can. You've all got your vouchers. Double check that I didn't leave anything behind. Yeah, wait, don't turn over the table just yet. The minute we finish like this, turn it over. Make sure you don't leave anything behind. Okay? All right. Nancy, all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies. Good evening, ladies. God is good. And all the time? Have you had a good time like I've had a good time? Good. I'm going to give you my story. And before I start my story, how many people watch the property show? There's something for? Good. I started my career in the financial sector and progressed in the real estate sector. From very early in my career, I realized that there was no place one could get information on anything, on everything real estate. Whether you wanted to buy, whether you wanted to rent, whether you wanted to understand the real estate sector, whether you wanted a lawyer, whether you wanted an architect, there was not one place that you could talk about and go and get that information. And because of that, everybody was losing money. At that time, I was working in a bank. And one of the things I noticed, which is very amazing, prayer is good, but one of the things I noticed is that before we started a meeting, most of our parents would come to our office, or even our peers, and they would start with a word of prayer. Would come your dad, your mom, and your dad would tell your mom, before we start talking, Baba Kamau, ebu tuombe. And can you imagine going to the bank and starting your conversation with a prayer? Because you've been put in a corner and you don't understand what's going on. And after seeing the many people who are losing homes, people know that there's a season, mortgages, people were losing homes left, right, and center. People were losing their assets. And I realized they are not losing it because they are stupid. They are not losing it because they didn't do what is right. They are losing it because they didn't have information. And because they didn't have information, they didn't know what to ask. And as you know, we fill forms, we sign, and we don't know that they have a dotted line that one needs to look at. After seeing so many frustrations, I saw a niche where I would have an information hub, where my knowledge, my information that I had, everything that I had learned in the real estate sector through the bank, I can now show it to the people. And I felt strongly I could create the much needed information hub on all things real estate. That's how I started the show. And I'll tell you, when the show was birthed, before I started it, I started now telling my friends, I want to start the show, it's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like this. And my friends, some of my friends would ask me, utakuwa ukituambia nini kila wiki? And then eventually, when I did get the demo, because you have to get a demo, one of my brothers asked me when I went to show him, I can't hear what you're saying. You seem like uko na ngwashe kwa mdomo. You need to polish your English. And I told him, itaenda hivyo hivyo, I will learn as I go along. and that's how I actually started, because I felt whatever my mistakes and whatever I don't know. And as Rebecca Miano said this morning, all of us have that voice that tells us you're not good enough. I am in the financial sector. I am not I'm not a media person, and I'm going to take my weakness and what I don't know to the world. And my friends would tell me, you're nuts. How can you do that? And I told them, I will go. I will go and learn along the way. And that's how we came across the property show. Every Sunday, we've been now on air for the last 11 years. We are an award-winning show. Over 1 million people watch us every Sunday. We have activities where we take people to see the bus tour, to see what's available, and they come with us along. When we announce our bus tours, I can tell you, each one of you should come. And you know what? It removed shame. It removed the shame that you don't know what you're doing. We have the sorry, this mic is moving. Sorry. We have the properties that we show you that you can buy for an investment or if you want somewhere to live. We show you how to decorate your home. We talk to interior designers. We show you the property news. We show you what you need to understand in the sector. We show you how to get a mortgage. Absa is one of our partners, and we show you how to get a mortgage. But more importantly, the new deals that are coming. And I'll tell you one. Today, if you want to buy a home for an investment, because people come and say, here, sitting room is not big enough for me. Start where you can, okay? So this unit goes for about 5.8 million. You need to pay a deposit. And after paying a deposit, Absa Bank, and they have not paid me to say this, Absa Bank will give you a loan. That mortgage goes to up to 20 years. You will be paying every month, because we are selling you this house during construction. You'll be paying every month 50,000 shillings. After the unit is ready, we have a tenant for you, because it's for investment. The tenant pays rent of 35,000 shillings a month. You only top up 15,000 a month. How many will take such a deal? How many will take such a 15,000 only per month? And in another 7 to 8 years, you own the house. And then we also have stories. I know Mercy has been on my show, Leah has been on my show, Terry has been on my show. Most of us have been on our show to talk to people on how they started the journey. What were the pitfalls? What they could do if they were to do it yet again. We also have a diaspora desk. On the show, what we have found is that the diaspora has been going on losing money by the day. And I don't know how many of you know relatives who've lost money through their relatives. Some of them we are seeing even their own parents. And we do have a diaspora desk. Our diaspora desk gives the diaspora community everything they need to know about real estate, but more importantly, when they are investing, we hold their hand and navigate that process. One of the things I have found with the diaspora desk, we are the first port of call when the diaspora is coming to Kenya or when they're investing in real estate. Every Monday after our show on Sunday, we find people in our offices in suitcases on their way to their villages, just coming to understand what is available. The diaspora desk is excellent, and if you have relatives, it's one of the places that we recommend that you can tell your relatives. Then, and the show continues. We've been 11 years on, we've had partners who've joined us along the way and have made it so special. And it's something I enjoy and I really, really enjoy. 2020 comes, and I got an opportunity to join the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. And I was appointed as the national chair